it's almost impossible to get bucked. Yo, what is up? Welcome back. If I sound like absolute rubbish, it's because I feel like absolute rubbish. Now I could be in getting my feet rubbed and sipping on tea, but I'm out here because you've got a bucking problem and I'm going to try to help you. So for the parents that are in the other room and for YouTube, bucking. So what is getting bucked? Well, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you've had it happen to you. And it's a super scary feeling, but essentially it's this: when you go off a ramp or a jump, your back end gets kicked up in the air or bucked like a horse, which causes your body to go up over the bars. Instant loss of control. OTBs off of a big jump are scary, so I'm hoping that you're catching this video before you are healing up from a collarbone break and you're trying to find answers too late. Now, why do I have this little jump here? Well, to be honest with you, little jumps, little ramps are way more dangerous than the bigger ones, and here's why. So when you're riding into a small transition or a small jump like this, your body mass wants to continue on this path, this plane here, flat and level. And what makes little transitions so dangerous is in just the span of a bike length, you're going from traveling on this plane, this direction, to being diverted in an upward trajectory. It's quick, it's sudden, and it can be brutal. And if you don't know how to handle it, well, you're gonna get bucked. And we don't want any of that bucking nonsense. Now, all the things I'm gonna talk about, all the body positioning to avoid getting bucked, do they apply in the big transitions, the big jumps? Absolutely. So what you have to do is you have to visualize this as being the last bike length of any transition. Doesn't matter if it's 40-foot long transition or a single bike length transition like we have here. The body positioning is all the same. So the number one root cause of getting bucked is body positioning, specifically being too far back on the bike. If you are in the proper body position, it's almost impossible to get bucked. It's just the physics of it. Now, I'm not a physics major, but I have figured out a few things along my journey of learning how to ride a bike. Now, if you're coming in on a jump, whether it's a small transition or a big transition, and you don't have the skills to really pop it and drive with your legs to pop the lip, the absolute worst position that you can be in is in a backward position, where you are putting the majority of your weight on your rear wheel and your rear axle. Now you're gonna have to envision my body being rearward on the bike with the majority of my weight back here behind the bottom bracket. As I come up the transition, my body mass, my trajectory is gonna wanna push through this transition. So what happens is all my weight is on my rear wheel. My front end pushes through and it doesn't gain arc. But what happens is my rear wheel is gonna hook up on this last bit of the transition, and that's gonna force my rear wheel to go into that arc. And that, my friends, is the first step to a big bucking problem. So how do we avoid this? Well, we wanna be centered on our bike. We wanna be over the bottom bracket. We wanna keep our knees over our toes and our chin over our stem. Those are two things that you need to remember about body positioning: knees over toes and chin over stem. So whether this looks it or not, the end of this transition is pretty steep. It should apply a lot of quick force on our body mass and on our trajectory. So we're gonna try to handle it appropriately with proper body positioning, and then we're gonna try to handle it inappropriately with improper body positioning. So it really looked like I was riding toward a mini little wall right there, but I was able to really handle that because my body positioning was where it needed to be. Yeah, so that was not a good feeling, but it was a good example of how improper body positioning really impacts the forces that are applied on you when you go off a transition. Okay, so let's check out a good example. So what I did was I pitched up the last bit of this transition just to make it really drastic, to really highlight body positioning and how subtle changes in body positioning really impact the overall result. So as I rode up to this, yeah, this looked super duper steep. It's not a big transition, so it's manageable, but it's definitely one that will buck you easy if you were even just a little bit off. So as I come in, my knees are over my toes, my chin is over my stem. I'm concentrating on staying forward, okay? I'm gonna have strong legs in this example,
I'm not going to sink into it and absorb the transition, and I'm not going to pop the transition because I want consistency. I just want consistent, strong legs to handle the force, okay? So now as I come up the transition, what I'm really focusing on is not sinking down and shifting back because I'm panicking about what this is going to do to me. This is in terms of the last bit of the steep transition. Here's where a lot of people go wrong, and you'll see in my next example, a lot of people at this point here will sink down and shift back because they just want to get through that as quickly as possible to get to the landing. It's a panic reflex. A lot of people on YouTube will say, well, you push back from danger. I don't believe you push back from danger on a bike. I believe you push back simply because you want to try to absorb the transition. So I don't do that here. I ensure that my weight stays centralized and my body weight was evenly distributed the whole way through this short transition. And in doing so, this very steep last bit of the transition really had little impact on me in a negative way. And I was able to finish out my arc and nose into my landing. Yeah, so I did nose in here, but that's how you want to land because typically you're landing on a transition. Very rarely are you landing to flat in a scenario like this. So that was exactly what I wanted right there. Now let's take a look at an example of exactly what we don't want. So I came in exactly in the same manner I did on that last example. Strong legs, chin over stem, knees over toes, but I'm going to show you the exact point where I made a decision that caused me to get bucked and could have led to brutal consequences if this were a bigger jump. So I'm coming in with strong legs, I'm coming up the transition, but it's at this point here where I'm like, oh boy, I better panic because this is steep and I just want to get back to the ground as soon as possible. I'm going to chicken out in a sense. So what I do here, and you're going to see it in my knees, is I'm going to bend my knees. Right here's where my knees start to bend, and I'm going to shift my hips backward. That subtle motion right there just put the majority of my body weight right on my rear wheel right here, okay? Now, because I gave up and sank down and back, my body mass isn't going to continue to drive my bike into the arc. My body mass just stalled out the arc. So now it's just going to continue to try to go this way on a horizontal plane. The problem with that is I have a transition right here that's not going to let that happen. So my rear wheel is going to continue tracking up that, and whether I like it or not, my rear wheel is going to go into that arc and my body is not. And here's the result of that. So right there, hooked up on my rear wheel, and it absolutely pitched me forward. If this were a bigger jump, this could have been a brutal consequence. But we were able to save it here. It didn't feel good, that's for sure. So let's look at that again. Look for the point where I give up, sink down, and shift back. You can really see it in my knees. It's subtle right there. Shift back. And put me right into the bucking scenario.
Your takeaway is this: don't let that jump cause you to sink into your bike, and don't let that jump cause you to shift backwards. If you can avoid those two things, you will never get bucked. And you may hit a transition and you might get bucked, and you'll say, well, my body positioning was where it needed to be and my legs were strong. You're wrong. You felt like that was the case, but that's not the case. You need to film yourself, go back, check yourself, take a look at your actual body positioning, because I really truly believe that it's impossible to get bucked when your body positioning is forward on the bike. Yeah, if this meant anything to you, hit subscribe, hit like. I try to do stuff that's helpful, so hopefully that's the case here. Yo, I'm gonna go in and rest. Thanks for watching. Peace. Yo, check this out. So Cabanero sent me some mud guards to check out, and I told them I would check them out if only they would offer free mud guard for one of my viewers. But this fender, should I ride over some doo-doo or some massive poopies, I can just pull it right off and wash it in the creek, or scrub it with a brush at home. So you see these tabs fold up right here, and they just mount here to this bracket. So it's pretty sweet. So if you want a chance to win your very own mud guard, wander on over to this Instagram here. Make sure you follow the page, find the post with this logo in it, leave a comment, leave a like, and you're instantly entered to win a free mud guard. The winner is up to them. I'll let them choose. Anyway, I'll let you know what I think of these. Peace.